All right, it is Tuesday, May 19th. Welcome back to Zach and Sully podcast. This is obviously the cheapest podcast ever using Google Hangout and desktop mics that probably don't even work, but I'm going to believe it does, so it picks up on the audio. But as usual, I'm Zach from Columbus, over with my friend Sully, who's no longer in Boston anymore. He's back in wonderful Lee, Massachusetts. How's it going, man?
Playa, what's happening? You're now talking to a new gas station employee.
That's right. If you haven't heard, Sully picked up a second job at a gas station to pay for his car. So he's saying that he's going to rock this unit when he goes out in public. So I'm very excited to see this thing. You want to show him, Josh?
Right here, baby. Right here. I'm a Big Y. Look, I even got the name.
Express. So what are your hours going to be at this place? Like you're working you said you're working the midnight shifts?
I start 11 to 4 o'clock on Thursday.
Oh man, that's gonna be great. You're gonna see a lot of interesting people at the gas station at that hour, especially coming in like probably buying either gas, food, or tins of dip and a bunch of cigarettes. So you'll meet all kinds of wonderful people. So
from what I hear, it's a lot of guys, a lot of truckers, and a lot of guys who work midnight shifts that come in and buy like an energy drink and cigarettes before they go home.
Oh, what a healthy lifestyle that is. So you're going to be seeing the healthiest of America, I tell you that. So anyways, so what we're going to be getting in today, pretty much, we're going to be talking a little bit about the NBA lottery draft that happened, I believe 2 nights ago. I think it was Tuesday night that happened. We're talking about Dikembe Mutombo's tweet a little bit. I wrote a blog about it. If you haven't read it at all, it's on our page for Twitter and Facebook. We're also going to be talking about our top 10 most overrated movies, so we'll get into that later on to the show. So, yeah, I guess we're going to start off with this whole NBA lottery draft situation. What is your opinion? I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I honestly believe that there's a funny argument to be brought up that this thing could be rigged potentially to help benefit teams. I think there's an overwhelming amount of evidence to make an argument, but I'm not going to put myself in that category that says, oh, well, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I definitely believe that everything about the NBA is rigged. Now, the NBA has had some moments in the past, with like Tim Donahue and that whole situation with the refs. They were clearly betting on games that they were officiating in. So what do you think in general? Do you think that there's maybe the slightest tweak going on to help potentially franchises that are in like turmoil?
I mean, if there's any major sports league that's going to rig anything, it's going to be the NBA. We already know about the referees. And I know that's not upper management, that's the officiating and stuff like that. But it is a little bit corrupt, and you've seen it. You've seen star players get really big calls as of late. That's not anything new. That's kind of been going on for the past 5.
Now, my argument was that the Cavaliers probably have been the most notorious winners of the lottery draft. But I'm going to take it back a little further in a sense because, if you go back to, the early 90s, especially around the time when the Orlando Magic first came out of the NBA, I mean, granted, this could have potential to be, a feel-good story. The Magic become a team in what? I think it was, 87 or 88. They have a couple bad seasons. 92, they get the first overall pick. They draft Shaquille O'Neal. 1993, they are the 13th worst team in the NBA. They have a 1.5 chance of grabbing the first pick. They get it. They draft Weber. They trade him to Golden State. And then they get Penny Hardaway. And then 2 years later, they're in the NBA Finals. Now, I'm not saying, it's built upon that way, but it does create a headline in a sense wow, this team has only been in the NBA for less than a decade, and they've already piled a team full of NBA superstars. This is a great story. I think that's a way to bring a lot of attention to a team that's on the rise, considering there was a lot of hype for Shaquille O'Neal when he came out of college. So, that probably would have brought a lot of viewers in. And you got to think, at the time when this happened, Michael Jordan wasn't in the NBA anymore. He had left to go play baseball. So they're trying to probably bring in some publicity to a new team. And I'm not trying to once again, I'm not trying to argue the fact that it's rigged, but you need something that's going to bring people to watch the sport again. And to me, I think that's a really good story. And I think the NBA lottery helped a lot out with the Magic that year.
Yeah, I don't know about this year. I mean, like you kind of said this earlier, if you're in as bad of a position as the Sixers are, you really deserve to get that top seed. But at the same time, isn't that what the lottery kind of is supposed to prevent? It's supposed to prevent tanking and stuff like that. You're not supposed to be able to suck on purpose.
I have a hard time believing that the 76ers had no intentions of not trying to tank this year. I mean, they went 10-72. I feel like you have to try to at least lose that many games.
Well, they did. Colin Cowherd kind of says it best. The average age of the Spurs is like 31. That's good. That means they have just enough experience to get the job done in crunch time, but at the same time, they're young enough to have that, guys like Kawhi and stuff like that. The average age of the Sixers is like 23. You can go out there and try and win every day. You're just not going to enough.
That's what I believe. I think that there was a little bit of a tanking going on in a sense with the 76ers. So a little bit about the tweet. So Dikembe Mutombo tweets out, like, congrats to the 76ers on grabbing the number 1 spot in the NBA draft. Now, he tweets this 20 minutes before the pick's even pulled. So now everybody on Twitter is going crazy, like, oh, he knows, like, this is rigged. This is like conspiracy theorists are jumping on this. Like, this guy, he's in on it. Now, obviously Mutombo is not a guy who would be involved in something like this. Obviously not. But it does bring the tension because there have been times in the past that people have argued that this thing is rigged. Now, I wouldn't say that, look, when you go 10-72, you definitely should get the number 1 pick. The odds should be in your favor, and you should win that by a mile. Like, that shouldn't even be a question. So it's not that I'm arguing the fact that the 76ers didn't deserve to get the number 1 pick or they think they rigged it for them. They definitely should have won it, but the Mutombo tweet just kind of adds fuel to the fire of the whole debate.
Yeah, do you think maybe there's some sort of possibility they already had it determined? I don't know. I guess that's impossible because of the ping pong balls, but I don't know. It is pretty weird. I also don't think Mutombo's like necessarily the kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I
don't think it's more that I'm blaming Mutombo. I just think that the tweet coming up just kind of speaks loud volumes of what people feel about the NBA lottery, and I think that's something that that's really put a big question mark in a lot of people's heads. And I think that, and the example I wanted to bring up was, and I'll talk to it in about a second, is about the Cavaliers' luck over the decade. I think that if the Cavaliers were involved in this, like if it had been a similar situation like it's been the last few years, then I think more people would have been upset about this. But the 76ers are terrible. They're horrible. And I think the NBA is trying to do as much as they can to save that franchise. And they're not going to die. They're in Philadelphia with a bunch of crazy lunatic fans that will support that team whether they suck or not, because Philly loves to complain about stuff like that.
I don't know, man. I don't know if Philly actually will. I think they have a legitimate reason for concern if they can't pull their shit together in a couple of years.
You really think that you think Philly's going to give up on the 76ers? I don't think they would.
I don't think they're going to put up with this last place stuff for much longer. I mean, that city has nothing else. Their football team was decimated by Chip Kelly. Not that I think it's his fault by any means, but you look at what happened with that. The Flyers somehow managed to make the playoffs, and we all know how well that went.
Actually didn't go that bad.
Well, they almost came back to beat the Caps, but their fans couldn't handle being in the playoffs.
The fans can't handle anything.
And then the Phillies, God knows what the hell they're going to do. That team's a wreck.
No, dude, what are you talking? The Phillies are tied for first place right now.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I was thinking.
I was just talking about this the other night because I tweeted out this, and I made fun of myself on our Twitter page today. I tweeted on opening day. I was like, the Philadelphia Phillies, obviously I wasn't thinking correct. I wasn't like thinking that this was actually going to happen. But I was like, they may go 0-162 this year. They may pull the perfect season. Obviously, I'm thinking I'm a long stretch of like them actually achieving something impossible unless they were getting paid to do it. But I mean, yeah, you're right. Philadelphia sports are kind of in turmoil. There's a big question mark with the Phillies because everybody expected them to be one of the they were expected to be the bottom part of the NL East and not the Atlanta Braves. But in a sense, do you really I think that the 76ers are a team that Philly would really, really like. I just think they've been around for such a long time that I think that they would have a hard time like seeing that team go to turmoil, and they will support and scream and hate at them like Philadelphia does best.
Do you think that Hinkie's gone? That now they're kind of gonna get their stuff together?
I think that eventually these draft picks are gonna have to do something. You got Nerlens Noel, you got Joel Embiid, who hasn't played a game in 2 years. He hasn't played a game at all. I mean, you got Okafor. He's a great basketball player. He's just got to get his head on straight. It was a rookie season on a 10-72 team. He just came off a national championship. He's playing for one of the worst teams in NBA history. Now you come into the draft. I honestly believe that they're going to take Ben Simmons, regardless if that kid whatever he wants his Nike deal to go with, the 76ers could give two craps about what that kid thinks about how his Nike deal will support him better if he goes to the Lakers. That's the last thing on their mind. I think Ingram fits better in the LA system, but that's just my opinion. I think that they're going to draft Simmons anyways. He's going to be unhappy about it, but I think that once he realizes he's playing with like Okafor and a few other guys that were studs in college, he'll shut up.
Yeah, I don't know if Simmons really fits in, though. They kind of already have too many bigs. Do they not?
I mean, I don't know. I thought he fit in better with Philly than he would in LA. I think the LA situation, I mean, like LA's got a bunch of guards too. Like, wait, Simmons is a forward, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a forward. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know. Like, would he play alongside like Randall out in LA? I just think that Ingram would fit that system a little bit better than he would. I don't know.
Yeah, Simmons doesn't shoot the ball really well, but he's great on the glass.
He does not shoot very well when he's under pressure either. And I'll tell you one thing: if he's going to go play out in LA, there's going to be a lot of people watching those games, and when the pressure's on, he's going to have to produce.
I don't know. I don't get a good feeling about the guy. Like, his team sucked. There's no reason you should have the best player in college basketball and suck. I don't care what the sporting cast around you. This decision to go to LSU to begin with, why not go anywhere else? You could have.
Well, I think he tried to do the same thing that D'Angelo Russell did. He chooses to draft stock.
Can you say that again? You froze. I don't know if our audience could hear it, but just say that one more time.
I just said that he most likely. We broken up now? We good?
Yeah, we're good now.
Okay. What I was basically saying was that I think he kind of did the same thing that D'Angelo Russell did when he came to Ohio State. Like, he knew Ohio State was like a decent team, but he wanted to go to a big name school that is popular, and he wanted to be able to at least bring that attention to himself. Go into the college, play 1 year of college ball, get the attention, and then get a high draft stock. But you put that in jeopardy if you go play for a school like Duke or Kentucky, because there's many other like superstar studs that want to play at that school that want to not only compete for a championship, but they also want to build draft stock as well. So I think that Simmons went to LSU to kind of emulate what Russell did with Ohio State and build more on his draft stock in a bigger school market rather than go play for a Kentucky or a Duke where he potentially rides the risk of playing on the bench, sitting on the bench and not playing much.
That might be true, but what's the big difference is that D'Angelo Russell brought OSU to the tournament. You know?
I think Ben Simmons was thinking he was good enough to do that. But like we said,
I think he went to a team where his godfather was the coach, and it didn't seem like they cared at all. They didn't accept the invitation to the NIT, and a lot of people wondered if that was because of Simmons and stuff like that.
He's not even doing a scouting play, is he? He's not even playing much in for combines and stuff in the NBA either.
No, he's not doing the combine at all.
Really, really sketchy stuff. I don't know. I don't really know what's going through his head on that. I think he's just banking on that people are just going to pick him off his reputation. But I don't know. That's pretty much all I had to say about that. And there was one more thing I wanted to talk about with the speaking of the lottery. I just wanted to bring this up real quick. Like, the Cavs since 2011 have had the number one pick three times since 2011, and they drafted Kyrie Irving in 2011. They had two chances to get the number one pick. They won it with the Clippers pick. 2.8% probability that was going to happen. That's a little weird, considering that their original probability was higher than the Clippers one, but it was like they had two of them just in case. Then obviously 2013 doesn't mean a thing because they draft Anthony Bennett, who's awful, and then the year after they get Wiggins, but they send both of them to Minnesota and for Kevin Love. After Kevin Love cuckolded the Minnesota front office and said, well, you either take these two players in a trade or I'm leaving at the end of the season, you get me for nothing. And that opens up the door for LeBron James, and that's why Cleveland's as good as they are now.
Yeah, but that worked out because, honestly, I would love to have Wiggins on my team. I think that guy, once he becomes a little less passive, he's going to be an absolute animal.
I think that LeBron probably didn't want to deal with, a bunch of young guys. One young guy's enough, I feel. When you're emulated, your system's emulated on you as the superstar, but then you got another guy who's kind of on the rise. You know how good he is, but you don't know how good he really is. You know what I'm saying about that? And then Andrew Wiggins was a question mark too, because there were questions about him coming out of college ball. That they're not questions about that anymore. He's going to be a great player in the NBA. But I think that was a lot for LeBron to take on. I think he wanted a guy to go to their system that was already proven that he could play. He played in the All-Star game, had a name for himself in the league, and that's Kevin Love was the option at the time. Didn't look like it last year, but the way they're playing right now, they just started 14 minutes ago, as they're playing right now, I think that things are starting to fit a little bit better for Cleveland. But I'm just saying that team right now has benefited tremendously off the NBA lottery. So
yeah, and everyone wants them to win. Everyone wants Cleveland to finally get their championship because we all know how much they've struggled.
I want Cleveland to win, but I do not want LeBron to win. I cannot stand LeBron. I can't stand how much a diva is. And I don't know whether to believe this story or not that came out today about Tyronn Lue telling him to shut the F up in the huddle. And, like, if that's supposed to, like, change the opinions of people and say, like, oh, well, look what he did. He stood up to LeBron. Like, LeBron isn't really in that much control of Cleveland. Tyronn Lue's got that. Like, I don't know if he does. I don't know if that story was fabricated or not. Probably have a hard time believing it because I think a lot of things are fixated and there's a lot of gatekeeping going on, especially at ESPN and stuff like that. But that's another story for another day. But
I don't know. I think that so
did you hear about this too today? But
yeah, I don't know. I'm reading this. LeBron I think LeBron is a very good leader, but I think he takes it overboard. But at the same time, you see him and he takes young players aside during timeouts and stuff, and he talks to them and he tells them what he's doing wrong. You don't see Carmelo doing that, and that's why Carmelo.
I'm not saying he's like the worst, but
I know, but he's overbearing. I do get that, and I don't like LeBron that much either. Not on the court, at least. He frustrates the hell out of me. I think he is a little bit whiny, but you know who else is a little bit whiny? Sidney Crosby, and
little. Can't spell Crosby without cry.
But he's also the third, fourth best player in the league, top 3 or top 4. He might be the best player in the league. I don't think he is right now. You know what I mean? But I know that's sometimes a big trait. Michael Jordan was a little bit of a whiner. We just didn't see it because of the lack of constant social media that was going on then. Guys like Larry Bird was always chirping in the refs' ear. I mean, we just didn't see it as much. And we see guys like Steph, and they don't do it like that. And now we're like, all right, yeah, Steph Curry, man, he just kind of puts his head down, and that's not really the case. You see Draymond, you see.
I think it's so funny that the Barstool guys are like trying to find bad things about Steph Curry just because there's so many nice things about Steph Curry. Great family, great husband, like. And they're just trying to, like, there's like pictures of him with his guard out of his mouth, like chewing on it. They're like, man, what an asshole. Like, they're just like trying to find things just to like get people to like I hate this guy kind of thing and like make him to be the bad guy. But I don't know.
That's like his church, the church he went to growing up supported the transgender bathroom law that North Carolina passed, and people were like kind of freaking out about that. And you're like, okay, you're fishing for things to be mad at Steph Curry for, clearly, because you can't find anything else.
Exactly.
But all right, do you want to transition into these movies?
Yeah, let's do it. So right now we're doing our next segment. So we did a thing earlier in the week where we were talking about how we were gonna have like a certain list theme for the next couple of episodes. So this category we have this week, we had top comedies last time we had our show, which was on Tuesday or Monday. I think it was Monday. So this week we have the next episode, top 10 most overrated movies. So pretty much the idea of this, it's pretty much any movie that has gotten acclaim or anything that you feel within your friend group is like, it's either friend group or acclaim, universal acclaim that you think that is kind of like a little bit over the top. So we've listed 10 movies that we think a little bit of old for me, a little bit some new as well. And yeah, so here we go. So Sully, you're going to start the list off. What is your number 10 most overrated movie?
This is kind of like a cult movie. It hasn't really been recognized nationally, but there's a strong following of this, and I watched it and I thought it sucked. Drive by Ryan Gosling. Well, with Ryan.
Yes, I agree. I've read it a lot. Like I've read there's just like a lot of reports about how the movie is just like a lot of like close-up shots of Gosling, and like it's really weird, and it's very, very overrated for the praise that it got.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it one bit. I'm not even going to try and sugarcoat it. I will say there's probably, I don't know this for sure because I don't know Zach's list. I like a lot of the movies I have on my list. I would watch them again. They're overrated though.
I agree. Yeah, my list, and I was telling Sully about this before. I think the problem with my list is that there are a mix of movies I probably would not, like, on my own time watch again, except for like 2 or 3 of them I would watch again, but I know that in the back of my head I know it's not as good as as people have like prompted it to be. So number 10, classic old film, Citizens Kane is number 10 for me. Now, I feel like this is an overrated film, one, because everybody puts it in that category. Every film critic puts it in that category. I mean, it's got the 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I'll get to in a second about how I feel about Rotten Tomatoes and some of the things that they put up. But I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I definitely follow their guides for like new movies that come out. Like, oh, okay, people are saying a lot of good things about this. But with Citizens Kane, you know, it's one of those movies that comes in the category before method acting existed. So everybody was just like, hey, yeah, like, how you doing, sweetheart? Like, stuff like that. You know how they talk in that annoying, like proper matter that was existed in movies for like a long, long time. And there's like, I don't know, I just think it's like that kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. It gets kind of old. And the scene when Orson Welles, I think, is it Orson Welles? I think is the guy who stars. I think it's Orson Welles, the guy who stars in it. I always get him mixed up with George Orwell from like 1985. It's definitely Orson Welles. The scene at the end of the movie when he gets mad and he starts throwing things around as an old man in the movie, I laugh so hard at. I just think the acting is so bad, and I just think his overreacting and his like throwing of items is hysterical. And I know this is also one of those movies that has like the earliest idea of a montage. The scene when he's like puts like his wife on makes her go on Broadway and sing, but everyone knows she's awful. But the critics are writing in the newspapers that she's good because his characters are paying him off. And of course the quote, Rosebud. Yeah, you know, like that, like famous line stuff. But I think it's an overrated movie, so that's all I'm going to say about Citizens Kane. All right, what do you got for number 9?
I didn't actually realize this, but I'm hating on Ryan Gosling a lot right now. Number 9.
I'm going to hate on Ryan Gosling later on. Trust me. He is going to be coming up soon.
I like him a lot. I think some of the stuff he's done is fantastic. But at number 9, I have The Notebook, and I can get a lot of flack for this.
All right, so I had Notebook at number 3, so we'll just put that out there. But go ahead.
So I just think that for taking it for what it's worth, I know it's a chick flick. It's a Nicholas Sparks-based book turned into a movie, and
it's so cheesy.
I've watched my fair share of Nicholas Sparks movies, and Safe Haven is a great one. The Last Song with Miley Cyrus, fucking awesome. I'm sorry, I had to curse. That's how good it is. That movie is great, and it's not just because Ra 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 is in the soundtrack. And people dare to put The Notebook
biased. Not
people dare to put The Notebook in front of The Last Song. Miley Cyrus is on point in that. Liam Hemsworth is a babe in that one. The Notebook is so overrated, it's not even funny.
I just think it's cringeworthy at points, and the ending is just like, oh, they died together in the bed. It's so cute. Like, oh my god, ugh, gross. All right. Number 9, I put 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay.
That film is boring. I'm sorry. I love Stanley Kubrick films, but holy shit, that is boring. I don't know. It just like it. I remember the first time watching it, just being very confused at the beginning because like the monkeys and like them running around and stuff. Like I was like, is this the right movie? Did I click on something wrong? And maybe the history of monkeys.
I remember thinking the exact same thing. I thought the exact same.
And so yeah, you know, it's a film about the guy who goes in space, and like obviously the machine is like it's got like like a conscience, and like all this crazy stuff happens. And then like there's a lot of ideology and symbolism that goes with Kubrick's films. It can be hit or miss. Like I love The Shining. I love A Clockwork Orange. I mean, Full Metal Jacket's a great movie too, but this one to me, it runs 165 minutes long, and a lot of it is just like how I expect majority of space to be. A lot of nothing and boring. So I'm fascinated by space, but it's probably very boring if you're up there for a long, long time. Just saying. But that's my number 9 movie, 2001: A Space Odyssey. So all right, now we get number 8. What do you got?
Rolling at number 8, I think you might have this one too. It's Avatar.
Yes, Avatar on my list was number 4.
So the reason I put it up there, and like I said before, I love this movie. I own it. I will go back and watch it again. I think it's a fantastic movie, and it set records. It broke records for the.
Pocahontas meets $1 billion.
Well, yes, that's exactly what it is. I'm pretty sure they admitted that that Pocahontas was like a driving theme behind it.
Do you think that, like, though, when James Cameron came out and, like, admitted to the public, oh, by the way, I just completely stole the storyline for Pocahontas, but made it better because graphics at $1 billion, but you idiots are still going to go watch it anyways?
Well, the thing is that it was so new. It was such a new idea because of this, and people, it just masked the fact that it's a really unoriginal storyline. But it's good. I would see it if it was on TV right. Excuse me. If it was on TV right now, I would turn it on and watch it. I absolutely would. It's just not as good as people think it is. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Well, there were a lot of idiots that fell in that category because I definitely bought a ticket to go see it, and it made what, like $2 or $3 billion in the box office?
Broke Titanic's record.
Another James Cameron movie. Well, we'll get to Titanic later on. Trust me. Number 8, I have $1 Million Baby.
Oh, okay, I haven't actually seen that.
I just think it's a very, very cliche sports movie. Like, I don't know, Hilary Swank walks into the boxing gym. Clint Eastwood's there. Oh, you're too old to have a boxing career. She defies the odds and becomes like a big fighter, gets knocked out, and then there's all this whole sad thing. And then at the end of the movie, like, Clint Eastwood like realizes that, like, damn, like I should have always like believed in her and stuff. She had so much potential. And it's just like, to me, it's just like, it's kind of like, it's not a bad movie, but it won like so many awards at the Academy Awards, including Best Picture. So I didn't think it was that good. You said you haven't seen it? Oh,
I haven't.
And then Morgan Freeman's character, classic supporting cast. Old broken down guy. Yeah, I was a boxer back in my day. With my last fight, blinded me in one eye. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he gets hurt in his last fight, and so cliche. Ugh.
I can't speak to it. I haven't seen it, but I'll take your word for it.
Anyways, like, I would never watch that movie ever again. Okay, so we're at number 7 now. What do you got?
Forrest Gump.
You know, I love Forrest Gump, but I definitely see why people would think that's overrated. But I'm not going to agree with that because I love Forrest Gump.
I love it too, and I'll watch it over and over again. I think it's one of the better movies that, like, you have to watch when you're going to school and stuff like that. I just think that it's been a beneficiary of over branding. They have the Bubba Gump Shrimp restaurant, and
horrible restaurant, disgusting.
Really, I went in Minnesota. I thought it was pretty good.
I think it's just a chain. It's like really like, it's like an Applebee's kind of place.
No, it's better than Applebee's. It's much better than Applebee's.
I mean, Applebee's is pretty bad. Like, it's probably one of the worst restaurants in the history of mankind. But I mean, actually, no, Denny's has the crown for that. But all right, I guess it's okay. The last time I went to Bubba Gump though was because me and Garrett were down in Fort Lauderdale. Garrett couldn't afford the $10 Miller Lights because, you know, he's on salary, you know, and like, it's a big deal. But he couldn't afford the $10 Miller Lights that were going around Miami, Fort Lauderdale area. So we went into Bubba Gump to get a beer to watch the end of the Bruins Blackhawks. And it was the Bruins and Blackhawks that were playing at the time. I think it was that game that was going on, but no, actually it was another hockey. I think they were playing the Canadians. But anyways, yeah, so that's my last time I was in Bubba Gump. But anyways, continue on. What were you saying about Forrest Gump?
I love it. I think it's no one ever has a bad thing to say about it. And like, there are parts of that movie that kind of drag on too long. And Tom Hanks is fantastic with it. Lieutenant Dan is fantastic in it, and it's a very good movie. And I don't dislike watching it at all. But no one ever has a bad thing to say about it. And it needs to be taken down a couple notches every once in a while.
All right, so number 7, I don't know if you heard of this. This is an old movie too. Now I'm gonna go in on John Ford, the director, because his 2 movies are back to back on my list. You ever heard of The Grapes of Wrath?
I've heard the book.
It is excruciatingly boring. Oh my god! It was all right. So I was home. I just came back when I just was at AIC, and I mean, I hated that school, so I had to go to BCC for a year just to figure out what I was going to do. So I spent a majority of that fall ordering films through Netflix. So I ordered The Grapes of Wrath, and I have never been so bored in my entire life than watching this film. Like, I usually can put up with like old like style films, and they go, it's a Henry Fonda film, you know, like classic actor, but it's just very depressing and very boring. And it's another one of those films that is 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And I'm like, I don't understand why. Because what? It's significant? It's old? Like, I'm so over this whole significant thing about, like a classic film. It can suck. It can be bad. Like, just because it's a famous actor and it doesn't mean it's good. I just did not enjoy that one at all. And I'm going to get to another John Ford film in a second with my next film, but we'll go right into it. What do you have for number 6?
You want to just go back to back?
Yeah, sure. So number 6, I have Stagecoach. You ever seen that?
No, I've never seen it.
I had to watch it. It was a John Wayne film. Horror, like, I just think the acting is not very good in it. I'm not even a John Wayne fan at all. I think John Wayne is one of the most overrated actors of all time. I can't stand his films. It was like one of those first movies where, like, everyone was blown away, like, because John Ford put, like, video cameras on moving carts, like cars, like, film the stagecoach chase scenes, and he was like, oh my god, this is crazy. There's, like, cameras on cars and, like, moving, and, like, holy crap. Like, that doesn't mean a movie's good. And for another site like Rotten Tomatoes to put 100% rating on a movie because of, like, scenes and shots is ridiculous. The movie's not good. It's not good. The acting is not that great. It's kind of very, very cheesy, too. So that's my thing with Stagecoach. I'm done ripping John Ford. He's probably pissed rolling around his grave right now because I'm making fun of his movies. But too bad. I hated both those movies.
So at number 5, I'm not going to be
5 or
honest.
6?
That was 5.
No, I had 6 as Stagecoach.
Right, 6.
Okay.
At number 6, I have The Dark Knight Rises. And
okay.
I liked that movie a lot. I won't say I loved it, but if you remember, it came out around the same time as the Spider-Man movie, the Amazing Spider-Man, and I genuinely thought that the Amazing Spider-Man was better than The Dark Knight Rises, and so, the
one with Andrew Garfield
wasn't what
the one with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of the Dark Knight series, so I don't know if I agree with that. But I definitely can see why people thought the Dark Knight Rises was overrated. But was it overrated because the Dark Knight was really, really good?
No, because I think people still a lot of times if it
gets
built up,
think that the Dark Knight's overrated, but I don't think it is. I think it's
I think the Dark Knight's one of the greatest movies ever made. I legitimately think that. But I think that the Dark Knight Rises just kind of rode off the success of the Dark Knight, the first one, and people didn't really hold it accountable. I thought it was very good. It wasn't nearly as good as the previous one, and I honestly can say that I prefer The Amazing Spider-Man more than The Dark Knight Rises. So that's why I think it's overrated.
All right, this is my last classic film from like ancient era. I have Gone with the Wind at number 5. That film sucks. Awful movie.
I haven't seen that.
Awful movie. Everyone talks about the last line because it was like when he says, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." And like everyone thought that was like the worst profanity back in the day. And it's just like when movies like Wolf of Wall Street come out, like this movie should not even exist anymore. Like it's over with. Like it's not a good movie. It's not a good movie. It's boring. Like once again, the acting is just that proper tone that I just cannot get over. I can't stand with films. Yeah, that falls in that category. Everyone praises it for being one of the greatest films of all time. It sucks. Okay, so that's all I got to say about Gone with the Wind. Before I get to the next ones, we already mentioned these, but my number 4 movie was Avatar, and my number 3 movie was The Notebook. So, Sully, I'm going to let you take.
I haven't gone with my number 5 yet.
Oh, you haven't gone with number 5 yet? I just wanted to touch briefly on that because before we move ahead, because I'm going to give you the stage. You have the next 3 ones because we've already touched 4 and 3 already before. So
okay.
When we get to 2, you can go. So just throw me 5, 4, and 3 for yours.
So at number 5, another unpopular opinion, The Avengers, the first one.
I was at work yesterday talking about this with coworkers, and almost everybody I worked with said The Avengers.
I think that you throw a bunch of movie. Look, at the end, I think it was Iron Man, the first one, where Samuel L. Jackson comes out and he has the little scene and goes, "We're coming to you to assemble the Avengers." And you're like, oh, this is going to be pretty cool. Like a bunch of superheroes together. You start hearing the movie.
Did you not like it?
I thought it was okay. I
liked the Avengers. I liked it.
I enjoyed Iron Man 1 and 2 way more. Way more. So at that point, why bother throwing in the other superheroes? You know, but I get what they're trying to do. I haven't seen. I think there's two more after that. I don't know. I haven't seen so many. All the Captain Americas I need to catch up on and everything. But I just thought that it got way more hype than it really deserved.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think, I mean, it's one of those Marvel movies. You got like the diehard fans of Marvel and stuff, and like they obviously like hype that movie up. But I think that I enjoyed it. Like when I watched it in the film, like I thought it generally was a good movie. I was very happy with my money spent that day. So I'd probably watch the Avengers again. I mean, I didn't have a problem with it. I definitely feel like there's definitely people who would put it in that category of overrated because it did get a lot of praise. But yeah, I can see why. There was a lot of other people. So all right, what do you got for number 4?
Sticking with superheroes, Superman, Man of Steel. I thought that movie was boring as hell.
See, I don't think that's overrated. I think a lot of people very universally know that movie sucks.
I don't know. I saw it in theaters. I'm one of those idiots that paid money, and there were some parts that were really, really.
Well, you talked about paying money for Dirty Grandpa, so I don't think anything flies with you anymore. So,
but I didn't actually go pay money. I told my grandfather I would see it with him because he thought it looked hilarious. Then he saw it with my grandmother and was terrified at all the profanity.
Yeah, obviously, he was probably terrified of Robert De Niro sticking his finger up Efron's ass.
I don't know. I didn't know that was a thing, but
I mentioned that in the podcast. I haven't seen it, but people had said that's a running gag throughout the movie is him putting his finger up Efron's ass. That's pretty much sums up the movie right there for me. But anyways, go on. What were you saying?
All right, number 3, Twilight, the whole series.
But that Twilight is awful. It's so bad.
Yeah, but everyone, like, so many people love it. So many people love it.
I think they pretend to love it. I really do. I think deep down inside they know it sucks.
The mass hysteria those movies caused, and like Harry Potter caused mass hysteria because.
But Harry Potter's good.
Well, a lot of people were fans of the books, and then they went to the movies, and then obviously the movies were unreal. Twilight, I know so many people who were not fans of the books at all, who've never picked up a book in their damn life, who went to the movies and were freaking the hell out over Team Edward and Team Jacob, which, by the way, Team Edward all the way. Team Jacob is a little bitch. Jacob is a whiny little bitch throughout that whole series. And yeah, I've seen all 3 of them. And Edward is a man, and he's a vampire, and he's way cooler, even though Jacob's like kind of ripped.
It's so cheeky. Like when he goes over after like Bella like falls off her bike, like, hold on, let me cover that wound up for you. And he's like super jacked, and like everyone's like, oh my god, like it is so ridiculous.
That, like Kristen Stewart is not in all movies. I've seen her be good in some movies, but in those 3, she is so, or 4, I guess they made the last one into 2 parts. She is such a bad actress. She is so.
She probably knew how like horribly praised the movie was, and at that point she's like, I just got to suck it up and deal with it. But she was so miserable at the fact that she had to go through with it. It probably evidently showed on her face, like when she was filming. But yeah, I hate Taylor Lautner. Taylor Lautner is a horrible movie. He was just in that disgusting piece of garbage that Adam Sandler put out, and the parody spinoff of like the Hateful Eight. I forgot what it was called again, but he was in it, and Taylor Lautner plays like a semi mentally challenged guy, and his acting is awful, like awful.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's really bad. Like it's really avoid the movie at all costs. Like it's not good.
Oh, avoid a new Adam Sandler movie? I'm surprised. Actually, no. I will say I saw Blended. I thought it was hilarious.
But Adam Sandler still thinks that like poop jokes and farts are funny still. Like at 48 years old.
I don't know. But that's not what made like Billy Madison wasn't funny because of that. I don't know.
We had this debate when we were down in Charleston. Me, Jackson, and Brian. We were talking about this. Like Jackson was making me laugh so hard. He kept on going like, "Yeah, Adam Sandler literally made $80 million off this noise." Like like him doing the Waterboy impression. He's like he literally made $80 million off that stupid noise. And like to me, that makes me so angry as a person. The fact that you can act like that dumb and make a crap load of money off of it. Like,
you know what I saw? I saw That's My Boy for a second time. Actually thought it was hilarious.
I heard a funny story about that movie actually. It was that Adam Sandler dressed up as that character at Andy Samberg's wedding. Have you heard about this?
No.
Andy Samberg got married. He invited Adam Sandler to the wedding, and he went in full character of his character from That's My Boy. And he kept going on like, "Yeah, this is my boy. He getting married." And like going out doing stuff. Like you gotta watch the whole thing. He did it. I think he was on Jimmy Fallon when he talked about this, but it's a really funny clip.
That's cool. That's cool.
So, all right, we're down to our last two. What do you got for number two?
Number two, The Wolf of Wall Street.
I almost put that on my list. I like The Wolf of Wall Street, but it's definitely overrated.
People who are like mind blown that Leo didn't win an Oscar for it. Why?
It's a funny movie, but it's not Oscar worthy.
All he did was act like a huge asshole with a drug problem who was loaded. He wasn't. That wasn't
It is a funny movie, though. It is funny.
It is a funny movie, and it's good, and I like watching it a lot, and I've seen it probably 3 or 4 times. But he's not unbelievable in that. He just plays a huge asshole.
That movie holds the record for most swears too.
Does it? I mean, you want to talk about Oscar? I'd give an Oscar to Gatsby before I did to The Wolf of Wall Street.
I almost put Gatsby on my list too because I thought Gatsby sucked.
You thought it sucked?
I
really?
did not like that movie. No.
You like the well? Do you like the book or
the
original
book.
one?
I just don't really care for the movies.
I haven't seen the original movie, so I can't even speak to that.
Robert Redford was one of the earliest ones. I think I saw that one, but I wouldn't say like I saw it. I was like, oh, I definitely watch that again.
Yeah. I don't know. I loved it, but I don't know, man. The Wolf of Wall Street. There's no reason it should have even been in the Oscar conversation. Like people who were pissed off that he didn't get it. No, Matthew McConaughey was amazing.
There was no way I thought he was going to win for Wolf of Wall Street. I knew for a fact he wasn't going to win the Oscar for that. And the fact that he won it at the Golden Globes just says a lot about the Golden Globes.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
what do you hit with it? What do you got at number 2?
I have another Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I have Titanic at number 2.
Okay. I knew you were going to put it on your list, so I left it off mine.
Oh, come on, dude. Are you saying that because you like Titanic, or are you saying that because you wanted to make late lists interesting?
I just didn't. I wanted to have as few doubles as possible. I don't know. It wouldn't have been as far down as number 2, though. I do like Titanic, but I don't know. I guess I can see
Academy Awards, the amount of money it made off of it, and the sole reason why every guy watched it in America was to see Kate like naked halfway through the movie. I mean, that's a fact. I don't know, the amount of like memes on the internet I see about it, and the like all this, the amount of attention it gets for like a movie that's average. I don't know. It's like I just think, and then I remember like when it came out like on VHS or DVD. I think I forgot who. I think it was Connor's mom or dad. It was definitely his mom probably who owned. Their family owned the movie, and it came in 2 like cassettes. So you had to like halfway through stop the movie to put in another excruciating half of that movie and watch this like dumb love story between Leo and Kate. And it's just every time it's on, I immediately change the channel. I think it's not. I don't like that movie.
See, I disagree with that. I do like it. I think it is a little tad overrated. But at number 1, I have a movie that our friends in Boston thought deserve to be on the top comedies list, and that is Bridesmaids.
Bridesmaids is not that good. For a second, when you said Boston, my heart sank because I thought you were going to say The Departed.
No. I actually, doing some research, I saw a lot of people hate on The Departed. And while I will think that it is over,
absolute blasphemy.
People say it's the best Boston movie ever, and I disagree with that very wholeheartedly. But I don't think it's not overrated at all. I think it's a fantastic film. It's one of Scorsese's greatest, at least in our generation.
Did you have an honorable mention? Because I had one honorable mention, and it was Space Jam.
I will never put Space Jam on that list. I did not have an honorable mention.
People, I think a lot of people pretend to like that movie. And I think it's like, I don't know. I only put it on there because everyone's like, oh, it's Space Jam, hashtag nostalgic, hashtag my childhood. But I think a lot of people pretend to like Space Jam because, like, it's like ironically, like the star of the movie, it's like the crying Jordan face. Like, you'll get made fun of by everybody if you say something bad about Space Jam. Just because I think that people universally are in this, like, cult that they believe that Space Jam is like, I don't know.
Did you like it when you were like a 6-year-old kid?
I mean, I watched it, but like I never like obsessed with it. Like, oh, this is the greatest movie ever.
I was obsessed with it. Obsessed.
So you're one of those people. You're not in that crowd that like you don't like pretend to like it or anything like that. Like, not like I wouldn't say that you pretend to like it, but do you get what I'm saying? Like, you see everybody like how Space Jam 2 is coming out, and everyone's like pissed because LeBron's going to be in it or whatever, and everyone is like, oh, I loved it with Michael Jordan, like it was so good. And like I just think a lot of people pretend to like that movie.
I remember watching that in my living room. I used to rent that like every week from the library. And I remember watching it and taking my mini basketball hoop down from my room and upstairs my living room and just having a dunk contest to the end scene with the credits when they're singing that song. It's gonna jam. Now welcome to the jam. Everybody get up. We're gonna start now.
There was a funny joke that just came out that said Space Jam 2 is going to come out and Michael Jordan's going to start out with the Looney Tunes, and then halfway through the movie they're going to suck, and then he's going to go join the Monsters in order to win a championship.
You mean LeBron?
Oh yeah, LeBron. Sorry, not Michael. LeBron. Halfway through the movie, he's going to go join the Monsters to win the whole thing.
Like it was like it was like my Space Jam 1 ended with Michael Jordan stretching his arm out as long as it could go in order to dunk. Space Jam 2 is going to end with LeBron James going towards the hoop, and then at the last second dishing a really bad pass to someone for a corner three that's going to be thrown up as a brick.
Yep. It passed a Bugs Bunny, and he just completely bricks it. All right. So
what's your number one?
All right. My number one. Ryan Gosling was in this movie. My number one is Remember the Titans.
Oh, my God. Get the hell out of here. I'm actually really pissed.
It is the fakest. It's a lie. The movie is a whole lie.
No, it is not.
Oh, yeah? I got evidence for it. I'm going to read you all this evidence of why it's fake. This movie is so fake. It's built, it says based on a true story, but that is being light. That is being nice to the film, that based on a true story. I'm going to read you a couple facts about Remember the Titans, and this is something I've been very, very vocal about for a while. The story is it's mostly a lie. There have been people that come out of the state of Virginia that said Herman Boone was just an awful person. He was mean to everybody regardless of what your race was. Okay, first off, Gary Bertier and Julius Campbell weren't even that good of friends. That friendship was made so that it could create a bond in the movie, oh, these two were best friends, blah, blah, blah. So apparently in real life they were friends, but they weren't oh, let's hang out after the stuff and meet each other's family and kind of thing. They were not even that good of friends. Coach Boone did not even wake the team up at 3 a.m. for the jog to Gettysburg Cemetery. Neither did his speech happen, which is one of the biggest turning points of the movie. So that's a lie. Ronnie Bass is from California, but his hippie portrayal and his long hair, that was completely fabricated. That wasn't even real at all either. Bertier was a really, really good football player, really good. He had 42 sacks in 2 years or something like that for the team, and he was getting recruited by Alabama and Notre Dame. Bertier got in a car accident after the championship.
Okay, but he's still...
The game was already played. So, when he's in the hospital and he's all oh, let's go, team. Oh, pity. Yeah, that's all a lie. He was playing in the game. Do you want to know how good the Titans were?
They went undefeated over 3 years?
They went 13-0. They outscored their opponents 357-45. The state championship, they won 30-0. So that whole entire thing with the backup quarterback running through all those people that scored a winning touchdown, lie. That was a lie. So how can a movie that is guide upon all these cheesy quotes and all this motivational stuff that is completely BS be considered a great movie? Because everybody loves Remember the Titans. Oh, it's a great movie, motivation, blah, blah, blah. And it's based on a true story. Well, you're wrong. It's a lie. So to me, that's ridiculous.
So maybe it's more loosely based than people realize, but it's a movie. They do that all the time. You know,
Sully, 80% of the movie is false.
Yeah, all right. Look, Miracle, that movie Miracle, everybody heralds it as one of the top 10 sports movies of all time. That scene where who state your name? Mike Ruzioni, Winthrop, Massachusetts. No, that didn't happen.
Obviously, that didn't happen.
Herbert felt bad. Yeah, but that's a huge part of the movie. That's one of the biggest parts, and that's the turning point where everyone comes together. And
but also is it based on a true story used for that movie?
It's based on a true story, and you can't differentiate. Unless you do your research outside of it, you would think that's real life. Also, Ruzioni sucked at hockey. They briefly touch upon it. Ruzioni was awful. He was barely.
That's why it was such an upset, because the team wasn't that good.
That's not my point. That is not my point. All I'm saying, that great moments speech, that's fabricated. Like, they wrote that. You know what Herb Brooks said before his most famous speech, before any game? It was before the gold medal game when they played Finland. No, Sweden. No, it was Finland. And he walked into the room and it was dead silent. And he walks in and he goes, "You lose tonight, you take this to your fucking grave." And he walked out and he walked back in and he goes, "Your fucking grave." And that's it. There was no like big great moment speech.
He should have said that. That would have made the movie 100 times better if he said that. Why didn't they use that?
Because the movie was rated PG and they did it for ratings.
I'm so sick of this thing. That to me would have been like, that is something you show your high school football team when you're going to play the biggest game of the season. You show them that. That quote should have been used in the movie, but that's exactly what Remember the Titans is. Everything about it is a lie. And Ryan Gosling, his guy didn't even exist. He wasn't even a real guy. They just put him in there. His character did not even exist on the team.
He was a liability at cornerback. No, I don't care what you say. I will always love Remember the Titans.
No, it's the most overrated movie of all time because everybody talks about how great it is, but it's not that great, and it's a lie.
I've uttered the words that it is the best movie of all time before.
It is the most overrated movie of all time, and it's a fact. Like the whole scene of like Coach Boone not throwing the banana at the coach, that never happened. Coach Yates getting inducted into the Virginia Football or Sports Hall of Fame. The Virginia Sports Hall of Fame didn't even exist until like the 80s, so that was a lie. The whole movie is fake.
I don't know, man. I'm sticking by it. I'm loyal.
Oh, my God. Anyways, so you heard it first. So go do the research. Remember the Titans. It's absolutely disgrace once you find out the truth. That's my most overrated movie by a long shot. So that's how I feel about that. So, yeah, do you have any final thoughts, by the way?
I'm rattled. Yeah, I do have a final thought. It's my final thought is if you haven't seen it yet, go check out the video of Kanye on Ellen. It's really weird. I don't know. I think there's something wrong with that guy. That's all I have to say. And go listen to Chance's new album. And also, I watched Beyonce videos for like 20 minutes today, and I know we talked about how overrated she is, but in concert, that is amazing. All right, keep going.
My final thought is this. Hey, Coach Boone, your movie sucks.
Coach Boone.
Actually, I actually read about that too. It wasn't a brick that got thrown through his window. It was like a toilet seat. Like way worse than a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, weird. And also Coach Boone didn't own a gun, so that was fake too.
How do you know all? Where do you look this up?
I did a lot of research on this movie. Me and my dad were curious one day. We looked through all the facts and we were like, this is ridiculous.
You and Matt?
Me and my dad, and then Matt, and then eventually like my family, and now we all hate the movie.
I'm salty.
Yeah, you know why? Because I just broke your heart, kid. That's why. All right, well, that's it for another episode of Zach and Sully Podcast. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We have a blog page too where I post whenever I get the chance. Like our first post was like the first one in like a month and a half. So yeah, send some condolences to Sully over this Remember the Titans thing. He's very, very upset by this. So hopefully he'll recover in time for the next episode.
I'm rattled. See you later.
All right, take it easy, guys.